Welcome to Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and we are here for episode 10. We have made it to double digits, and we're still surviving. And still riding with me right here on my left side is my co-host, Matt Mueller.
This is how we do it.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm going to stop throwing it to you. I might just have to take over your introductions totally. And as we said before, BD is out right now. Brandon Davis is out on a world tour of his Man of Mystery living. And so it's given us an opportunity to cycle through a bunch of the fine members of the comic book staff. And today we have somebody you might recognize if you've been a fan of Comic Book Now and other stuff we've done around the site, Mr. Charlie Ridgely.
What's going on? Hi, everybody. It's good to see you.
All right. It's good to have you here, Charlie. I know you've been itching. You've been like one of the most enthusiastic people about
I've been ready,
about
man.
this whole Comic Book Nation journey.
I've been ready, and it's a milestone episode. It makes me feel a little important.
Oh, see, that's nice.
Yes. Now, if we make it to 11 past this with you, that'll be a good sign.
You didn't make fun of his intro.
I mean,
I didn't say anything dumb.
no, yeah.
I didn't say anything dumb either. It's a great song.
He didn't drop dated 90s references. Man, we are waiting to see if Luke Perry is going to be okay right now. I don't want to think about the 90s. I'm just hoping for a good future here. If you don't, sorry, better give that context.
Jeez, let me bring it down.
I know, way to bring it down, all the air out. No, we're recording this, and we're waiting to hear 90210 star Luke Perry had a stroke, and we're hoping for a speedy recovery for him as we're recording this. We were kind of all watching that before we walked in here to record. But that's not going to be our show today. On Comic Book Nation today, we are going to be breaking down the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the DC movie universe with Suicide Squad 2. There's a new Walking Dead spinoff series that's been announced, and Matt is going to take us through the best things happening this week in comics.
Yay.
If you want to hop on board this Comic Book Nation journey, you can always find new episodes posted as articles on the site. We have an RSS feed that you can subscribe to. You can also subscribe to us on Spotify, on Stitcher, on iTunes. But we're still not on Amazon Music yet.
Every time.
Yeah. Well, I gotta keep people updated.
Every time.
Matt loves Amazon Music, and people might
I don't even love
with you.
It's just a.
I don't think we come up in Pandora.
It's a great
either.
value.
If you've been wondering,
it's a great value.
If you've been wondering, I don't think we come up on Pandora either. So that's that. But let's get to it. All right. So first thing, Walking Dead. We've been talking about The Walking Dead, actually, in 10 episodes. It's actually come up fairly often, even with BD, who is like our Walking Dead man, not being here, because there's a lot happening with the show. Andrew Lincoln left. It's season 9 right now. Andrew Lincoln left. Chandler Riggs left, who plays Carl, left last season. Denai Guerrera, who plays Michonne, announced that she's going at episode 10. Tom Payne, who plays Jesus, dropped out. I mean, it just seems like things... Lauren Cohen, oh yeah, I forgot. Maggie has kind of in this weird hiatus where she's gone but not gone for right now. And so the main series has been looking like it's losing steam. And it's probably for that reason that AMC has come forward and announced during an investors meeting or shareholders meeting with like Wall Street today that they are planning a new Walking Dead spinoff series. We already have Fear the Walking Dead, which I think a lot of us in the office go against general opinion because people don't necessarily like Fear the Walking Dead. But like, I know Charlie, I know Brandon, I know myself and others in the office have all really liked how Fear has evolved and changed over the last few seasons. We kind of liked the Morgan introduction. Maybe not everything about the show. Brandon has a big problem with like that lady villain who was in the last season and all, but we've liked how it's kind of found its footing, even though it's a completely different show from where it started. So we're kind of interested to hear what this new series would be. No details have been given. I don't think AMC even has like a firm idea. Like the COO, Ed Carroll, said the following about it. I'll read it to you because I don't want to mess up his vague words. We're not at a stage where we'll be announcing its plans to premiere, but we have hired creative people that have pitched story outlines. We feel very good about the development of that series. We're not in a position to talk about partnerships, blah, blah, blah. But we've had a number of conversations with a lot of players in the space. Again, very vague TV speak that means we have a show idea.
And we hired some people.
And we're working on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've done plenty. I mean, if you've been working here, I'm sure you've come up against at least one list of possible Walking Dead shows we could have and scenarios and stuff. But I want to hear what you guys think. Like, what else do you do with this premise? Because obviously they're trying to keep going back to this well. and keep tapping into this. And I'm sounding cynical, but I actually do think there are good ideas for what you could do to kind of better explore this world or tell more stories in it. What do you guys think?
I mean, my thoughts are pretty succinct on it. So, I mean, if you've got ideas of what you would like to see, Charlie.
I mean, I don't have any like many specific ideas, but I agree with what you're saying, Kobe. I think that there is a well to be drawn from, and I think in the past they've maybe drawn from the wrong part of that well. Like 3 Rick Grimes movies, we don't need that, But something that's completely different, Fear has become something very completely different in tone, and you can put something in the winter in the mountains, and it's very like very contained and very small, or you can set things in other countries. You can do like a Dead Island thing and put things in, a tropical area. Like you can do so many different things with that zombie genre and still be successful because it's got the Walking Dead name on it.
Let me ask you guys 2 questions. I mean, the 2 biggest things that I hear when the fandom starts talking about what to do and what other shows you could do is you could do a show during the actual fall, a big kind of disaster event series during the actual collapse of society in more detail than like Fear or the main series has shown it. The other thing that you could do is something that I'm kind of totally blanking on as I said it. So let's just go with that first thing, because I forgot the second thing as I was talking.
Ironically, way back when we did the infamous test episode.
Oh, I remember. A series that actually has to do with curing the zombie apocalypse is the other thing, because we had the CDC episode in season 1 of the show, which was not from the comics at all. People really responded to that.
Well, see, people say that, but then it always feels like that episode gets crapped on by like Kirkman and like the other people of like, well, we're never going to go back to that. That's not what we want the show to be about. But that was one of the most interesting episodes for me, which is why I'm more interested in the Rick Grimes movies, because, Brandon was like, oh, well, that might be something tied in there. And that's the most compelling thing for me. If they're going to do a show that's about that or explore that aspect, that's the only way you're going to rehook someone like me. I'm not going to check out another Fear the Walking Dead set in wherever, Brazil. Like I'm not gonna watch that, because I don't watch it now, and it just doesn't grab me anymore. So,
and I think, Kobe, those two things kind of tie hand in hand, or at least they could. You could have a very, I don't want to say politically charged, but like that type of really fast talking, dialogue based drama that. The zombies are there and it's a thing, but it's focused more on the politics behind when the world collapsed and the people in power trying to retain power and trying to take power, and then the search for a cure that came with it that ultimately probably fails. And that journey there could be very, very different from what we see on The Walking Dead.
It feels like you just described an Aaron Sorkin Walking Dead.
Yeah, I was.
Which, exactly. If that's the case, I would watch that in a heartbeat. But that's just because I'm
deal with the CDC and the different companies, like the different corporations that are trying to fix the problem, but also benefit themselves, and it could be beneficial, but it would take regular Walking Dead fans getting used to, because it's very different from what they're used to.
All right, well, just to put a bow on all this, it sounds like I think we're all in we need to hear the concept, right?
Oh yeah.
And there are gonna be some pretty strong reactions either way if this thing ever gets to kind of a further stage of development. So I guess we'll just throw it out to you guys. Hit us up, #ComicBookNation. What would you guys like to see in a new Walking Dead spinoff? Something that is not going to be just a retread of Fear or the main series. Let us know. But we're going to keep it moving because we have more to talk about. Let's hop over to the DC Extended Universe. So, Suicide Squad. Pretty much the most infamous comic book movie of the last few years that I can think of in terms of just the divide over this movie. I mean, critical opinion versus fan opinion. The money it made versus, the money that people think it deserved to make. The fact that it has an Oscar now behind it, and the mess of just the Frankenstein mess with David Ayer's movie that he wanted to make, which is probably a gritty kind of street crime movie, to this DC crazy fantasy with the Enchantress and all that they tried to tack on with it that didn't make any sense. So Suicide Squad is like the redheaded middle child of the DCEU. But this is a rare case where, we're getting kind of like one of those, aliens type deals, right? Like where the sequel sounds like it could be, like way more interesting and just, I mean, kind of a flip, but like a good flip in a good way, because now we have a sequel upcoming. Is it officially called The Suicide Squad?
Yeah, the Suicide Squad.
Okay, so yeah, they just threw a "the" in there. So the next one is called The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad 2. And now we have Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn hopping on board for that, which is way more fun. I think, I mean, for me, Guardians was not my Star Wars because I'm just older than that like it was for a lot of people in the MCU. Like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I came up on James Gunn like from his indie work, from watching Slither and Super and all that stuff. And so, like, hearing him take on the Suicide Squad is actually more fun to me than hearing him take on Guardians, because he was trying to make like all these space characters into these lovable weirdos. But in this is like pure James Gunn. This is like where you just give him a set of zany characters, a crazy kind of high concept premise, and the ability to start killing off some people. And like, that's going to be tons of fun, I think. And
yeah, and I think
I'm really kind of looking forward to that. But we're getting to that in a second. But let me just drop this. There's one person who won't be back for that fun, and that's Will Smith. Wah, wah. Yeah, Will Smith has dropped out of the Suicide Squad due to scheduling conflicts, not any kind of like creative disagreement, I guess it's important to note. But he's not coming back as Deadshot, and now there's kind of a question on whether to recast the character or introduce, because of the nature of Suicide Squad, it's a rotating roster when it needs to be, which is like all the time. So you don't have to hold to anybody. And I think was it you, Charlie, who, before we got in here, had a good idea of how to kind of get over that hurdle about the Will Smith Deadshot thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good idea. I'm glad to hear you say it.
Offer to the people, let them feedback.
I mean, we're not going to have Deadshot, and I don't think you want to recast that character to somebody else, because Will Smith's a recognizable, charismatic person. Yeah. But there is a very similar character who's like floating around in this, DC universe, like, bubble right now, not attached to the actual reality, and that's Deathstroke. Joe Manganiello, we all love him as Deathstroke. He kind of came on because they wanted to use him in the Batman. He was a big part of Ben Affleck's design for Batman. And then when the Snyder thing fell apart and when Ben Affleck left Batman, Joe Manganiello is kind of one of the worst casualties of that, because he's so well cast as Deathstroke. He looks great as the character.
Not to mention he's already been on screen. Like,
yeah,
this isn't theoretical.
That was a lot of people's favorite part of Suicide Squad, was seeing him at the end. Justice League. Justice League.
He was in a post-credit scene for Justice League.
And seeing him at the end, like, he looks really good as the character. You could bring him in to replace Will Smith's Deadshot in that like shooter, grounded human role, someone who's not some kind of evolved being, and you can actually give him a full arc, because Will Smith's arc was kind of completed in Suicide Squad, and it makes sense for him to not be back.
Charlie, we don't say, I'm going to be like, I'll be real with the people now. We don't say this a lot around the Comicbook.com offices, but Charlie, that is a really good idea in some ways. Like, it really is. Like, I think it's a good idea, because Deathstroke has been looking, I mean, they've been looking to do something with him as a character in possible franchise. He's a really compelling character. And he's got a lot of sides, he's simple at first, but once you get deeper into him, it gets a lot deeper with the Shakespearean family stuff with him, Slade Wilson, and his long history. And more importantly, it would be really interesting to see Amanda Waller try to kind of corral Deathstroke is something really great, because he is this like the best assassin in the world, and trying to keep him on a leash would be kind of an amazing a subplot in and of itself, right? Yeah. Like, how many ways is Deathstroke going to try to like screw all these other people over and get the hell out of this situation as quickly as possible?
And seeing Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn against him, like juxtaposed with him on the same side, would also be interesting.
Oh yeah, because I mean, he's in some ways he's even more like of what they intended Deadshot to be. Yeah,
he's very much
first
like
one, because he's going to be like really iron-jawed, stoic, like no nonsense. Whereas Will Smith still has to crack jokes and one-liners and do that kind of stuff. So I think that's a good idea. I think Charlie just solved the Suicide Squad's problem. Bring in Deathstroke, use it as a backdoor to his own franchise or the Legion of Doom or whatever. And I think you're right in the sense that, no, they shouldn't recast it, because you could use Will Smith again. It's just a scheduling conflict, right? So if the Suicide Squad does great and Gunn sticks to this, then the next one would be an exciting thing to see Deathstroke, a more fully established Deathstroke, and Deadshot together or something like that.
Yeah.
When he has to come back into the squad, like, stuff like that. So I think that's a good idea. I mean, we don't come here to solve problems. We just do because naturally sometimes we're just good at that. And I think that's what we've done here. So we're just going to keep it moving. And that is Suicide Squad. So stay tuned because coming up, we're going to break down that X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. And Matt is going to take us through some of the biggest releases in comics of the week. All right, let's talk X-Men Dark Phoenix. We've been talking about, the middle child. This is like the redheaded stepchild of superhero movies right now. This movie was supposed to arrive, this year, last year, both? I forget. We've been
like
covering
7 release dates.
Yeah.
Let me just take a side and rant a little bit. Like, we've been covering this movie for so long that, I can't even just tell you, when it comes out, no matter how good it is, if it's Oscar worthy, I'm just going to be like, get it in theaters, get it the hell out. I'm tired of writing the word Phoenix. I really am.
At least it's not Gambit.
Oh, man.
Well, and there's 2 of them because New Mutants still we know nothing
yeah,
about
that
New
one too.
Mutants.
Yeah,
and that
New
movie's
Mutants has
finished.
disappeared. New Mutants has all but disappeared from reality. Thanos snapped it out of existence. It was coming. We saw a trailer. It looked awesome. And now that movie's not coming.
I think
Are you kidding me?
It looks fine.
Great use of
looked
the
fine.
It's so much better than
Pink
Dark Phoenix.
Floyd's The Wall.
I'm not saying
horror
it.
movie, X-Men, baby rattlesnakes.
This is a potential derailer. So
Baby rattlesnakes can't control their venom. That whole thing was great. I rewatched that the other day. Forget you. Anyway,
It's a fantastic trailer.
yeah. Anyway, Dark Phoenix has been here and almost here so many times, so many release date shifts, reshoots. And so we get this new trailer, and I'll just give you my overall impression. It's an X-Men movie. It has people. Sometimes they're wearing X's on their shirts.
people.
That's basically my takeaway. It's an X-Men movie. It has people in it. Sometimes they're wearing X's on their shirts. But this trailer gives us a really big spoiler. I mean, I can't even call it a spoiler anymore, so I can't say
no,
I'm
it's in the
spoiling.
trailer.
We all
It's not a
knew it.
spoiler.
Yeah, we all knew it, and now it's just in the trailer, in your face, as they're killing off Mystique, Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique, who I've been having the tin hat conspiracy theory all day that she was just put it in the trailer that I'm dead, so I don't have to answer questions about this movie. Everything's gonna be like, Jennifer, what do you? I don't know, I'm dead. What about the next sec? I don't know, I'm dead. That's what I figure. That was because she wants out.
Oh yeah.
Way overdue for out. But I mean, this looks like. I think I saw this trailer this morning and I said, man, in all seriousness, The Gifted season 3 is going to be off the chain. When it premieres, it's going to be off the chain. Gifted season 3. I mean, it just looks like a. I mean, this was my thing about Apocalypse too. It just looks like a really good TV episode. I mean,
But this looks better than Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, it does look better
Apocalypse
than Apocalypse.
looked terrible.
Okay, but it's
Was
still
terrible.
they're almost. It feels like the same
Yeah,
structure.
it doesn't feel any different. Days of
Some
Future Past did
mission,
something different.
some
but that's
mission in the
only one.
beginning, super powerful mutant, and then we have 3 soundstage sets where we're gonna do semi-interesting battle with mutant powers, and then
I mean, you just voiced though my entire rant about the X-Men movies. Period.
Days of Future-
they're all
except for Days of Future Past.
was good. Yes, it was. But it still comes down to the same 3 characters that they always focus on, and it's the same thing here. Now, what I liked, maybe I came into it with a low bar because the first Dark Phoenix trailer was trash
yeah,
and looked
Very bad.
yeah.
So I was like, wow, I won't ever get those minute and 30 seconds of my life back. It was that bad. So maybe I came in and went, oh, wow, this is an actual trailer. This is actually, there's some interesting things in here. I do maybe I was also just happy that, I kind of looked at it as 1 down, 2 to go. Because I'm they got rid of one of the trio. And I'm tired of every X-Men movie being about
Xavier.
Magneto and Xavier and Mystique.
Yeah.
I'm sick of Mystique too, but
It's the X-Men. It's
Xavier
about
and
them.
Magneto have been the strongest part of this franchise the
No,
entire
they've been-
time.
Okay, McAvoy would make anything strong because he's just a good actor.
So
But
I think the same about
those
Batman.
characters are boring. They're so boring.
been done.
I'm not
I
disagreeing
mean,
with you, but
Yeah,
they,
from
the actors
young to
make
old,
it.
there is nothing
It's
new
just
here.
done.
Yeah.
I want focus
Unless
on the young
Professor
group
X
of
and
heroes.
Magneto start kissing in the next movie, we've
That's
done
it.
everything.
That's it.
These characters.
But here, the Chastain stuff has me interested. And actually, I was surprised at how much I was pleasantly surprised by Sophie Turner's.
I think
Phoenix.
she's the best thing about this movie.
Yeah.
Like when I see these trailers, her kind of the beginning is like really messed up. Like when she's crying and kind of talking to
like that's-
whatever that other thing is in her head about like, why did you make me do this? Like this story of like young woman empowerment, like that's interesting.
Yes.
I just think that the last couple of movies have become really lazy in their staging of action in the X-Men series.
Completely.
Like Apocalypse, it's just people on wires on what are obvious sound stages. It just is all kind of staged and blocked really badly and boring. And like we're talking about superhero films.
It's
where
boring.
the battles are,
Yes.
are going down legendary. The airport battle in Civil War, even if you feel some kind of way about that movie. Battle on Titan and Infinity War. I mean, this is an X-Men movie. They should have been mastering this long before
Yeah.
Civil Wars and Infinity Wars
And they're
got
still
here because
behind
they
you.
have an ensemble of
This is their
superpowered
fourth
characters.
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's seventh if you want to count all the other stuff, but like this is their fourth movie with this cast, and they still have not really gone. I mean, they did in the second movie with Days of Future Past. They did something big,
Yeah.
and then they just reverted with Apocalypse. I guess he was big, but it didn't feel that
Yeah,
way.
it didn't
It
feel
didn't
that
feel
way.
Didn't feel real, and then they
Exactly.
go this, and it's another step backwards, and it's a movie that we've already seen. Like X-Men: The Last Stand came out what?
Oh, I wasn't going to get into that, but
Oh, you
fine.
brought up
You
that.
did it.
Years
You
ago?
opened it. You opened the door. Let's get
It's only
into it.
been 13 years.
Yeah, this is X-Men: The Last Stand, right? Like
It's exactly
take
the
away
same.
the mutant power.
No, this is not. I don't think this is going to be that
Matt,
bad. The
bruh.
Last Stand is terrible.
Matt. Okay, let's
This
just-
looks terrible.
No, this does not look that bad.
Let's
No,
just go through it.
that
This
is
is a story-
cynical.
It's like a 2019.
that is
Last
cynical
Stand.
movie fan talking.
Let me explain what I'm saying. You tell me which film I'm talking about: Last Stand or Dark Phoenix.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
Fraser Crane.
As a result of some kind of action or trauma, Jean Grey begins to remember that Professor X repressed her powers, gets super pissed off about this, rebels against Xavier and the X-Men, hurting them in the process and killing some of them, goes to Magneto for guidance because he's got the other philosophy, ultimately just discovers that Magneto is just as pointless as Xavier and is going to crush them and destroy everything until the person who loves her most comes and tries to intervene and gets back her human side. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a transport heist.
Yes.
Where a bunch of mutant prisoners are going to get broken out of a transport. Which movie am I talking
My
about? Dark
argument,
Phoenix or Last
but that wasn't
Stand?
my argument. That was
I'm just
changing the
asking you a
narrative.
simple
That
question.
wasn't my argument. What I
was
said
your
was
argument?
this movie. I don't think this movie looks nearly as bad.
from a technical
as
perspective,
as The Last Stand.
it doesn't because
plot
it's
wise.
2019.
Yeah, because they're based around the same story. Of course, there's going to be similarities. And
Neither
all
of
the
those stories
X-Men,
is Dark
all the
Phoenix.
X-Men movies have stupid transport scenes. He's absolutely right. I'm not saying there aren't mirrors there. Yes, absolutely there are. But what I am saying is this movie, even from trailers, does not look nearly as bad as The Last Stand.
I don't think it looks as bad
Yes,
as The Last
that was
Stand.
my point.
Okay. But I don't think when making a new X-Men movie, we should have ever been bringing up The Last Stand as any kind of
was
comparison. But no, it's not.
I didn't make the movie.
No, this is not just Charlie. This is already going down. Like,
Yeah.
already the
Like, I
fandom
get the Dark Phoenix storyline is cool and iconic in comics history.
Yeah,
but like,
and the real
don't
Dark
revisit
Phoenix
it yet.
story is like a cosmic, crazy story. Which, if Fox had been willing to pony up the dough, like there's
I
an
agree with
obvious
all of
market
this, by the
for
way.
that.
I
Eric
absolutely
the
agree.
Red, the Shi'ar Empire, like all
Starjammers.
that, Starjammers.
Oh man, now you're speaking.
Even if you just did some of that, like instead we just get like, we don't even have an alien yet. We have Jessica Chastain with a hair dye and a trench coat.
But here's the crazy thing, though. For like reading Kinberg's comments, director Simon Kinberg, who has been working on this franchise for a long time, right?
Yeah.
For him, when he was talking about that, he was like, "We wanted to embrace the cosmic things," and I'm like, so by by literally flying a ship into space, and like that's the only real scenario. I'm like, did you understand how big this movie is?
He had good intentions and wanted to do the
I
right
get-
thing, but like, I don't want to make this comparison because I think a lot of Simon Kinberg, but like, Josh Trank had a lot of great intentions too.
Oh,
And you know,
Ooh.
just because you're trying to do the right thing by the comics, you're trying to make this a newer take on a story that we've already seen in the last decade. Like, it doesn't mean you execute it well.
Yeah.
learn from Spike Lee. Just because you try to do the right thing doesn't mean you get proper recognition.
Well done. Way to bring that
Yeah, ready to bring that back. But, all right. I mean, the bottom line for me is in 2019, there are some big superhero films I'm really looking forward to. Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Joker, Shazam. Full
Shazam!
stop.
You didn't savor it.
Full stop.
Shaft.
Yeah, Shaft.
Wait, you're looking forward to
and
Shaft
Shaw.
now?
Hobbs and Shaw. I'm just talking
All
about
of those
things.
movies look better
Yeah,
than Dark
these are
Phoenix.
just
They
all
look
things
better
I'm
than
more
Dark Phoenix.
anticipating than Dark Phoenix. Like Dark Phoenix.
Sorry, Dark Phoenix look better than Hellboy. Sue me.
Whoa!
I don't know about that, man.
Hellboy looks like garbage on a
As
plate.
a new Hellboy trailer is about to drop.
I disagree.
Quote me.
I don't know why you're doing that before this new trailer is about to drop.
Wholeheartedly.
That's fine. I mean, it better be better than the last two because
Oh
they
boy.
suck.
What do you mean two?
That's,
It's been one trailer.
the-
What's your
teaser.
Twitter handle again?
That's Matt Mueller CB.
All right,
I am
Matt
not
Mueller
afraid
CB.
of my predictions or
For
my
hot
comments.
takes. For hot takes, Matt Mueller CB. All right. We're going to move right along because Matt is going to follow his own hot takes.
I don't think that's that hot of a take, to be honest. But this looks better.
The internet will let you know.
That's-
I'm sure. Matt, what's happening in comics this week?
Well, okay, so this week has been a very nice week for comics. So first off, because and quick thing, we didn't get to it, but PSA, Power Rangers Beast Morphers,
Oh, I
kicks
did
off
forget that.
this Saturday, which is the first episode in the new
Yeah.
Hasbro-owned series. So tune in for that. It's got a new time.
Matt is like to Power Rangers what BD is to Walking Dead, what Megan is to anime here. So yeah, man, stumped for those Power Rangers.
I'm very excited. The toys look sick. Toy Fair was awesome, and so now we actually get the show. I'm hoping.
Is this the one we talked about a couple episodes ago?
Yes, that show.
Do you have a better explanation?
Here's the thing.
now of
No.
what this show is about?
Because yes, I do, but I'm not going to go into that because we got comics to get to. But,
Okay.
But we will. I will have an episode here where we talk about reactions.
All right.
So, but while we're on the subject, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 36 came out, which continues the Beyond the Grid arc, which is centered on a bunch of fan favorite Rangers who were essentially stranded in a place that is not connected to the grid. So we got new Rangers, the Solar Ranger, and they're trying to figure out why this place is not. There's still this looming thing of like Shattered Grid ended in a white light. So we're not sure what happened to like the old universe or the original Rangers. So it's like it's pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out, you totally should. Just go back a few issues. So that'd be awesome. Next up is Buffy the Vampire Slayer 2, which is the recent, I guess you would call
Or
it.
just like all of my 90s becoming comic book.
Because it's like a reimagining of the series. So it's got all the same characters. It's just a little remixed. But it's really good. Like they're doing some really interesting stuff. In this issue, we get like a bunch of people. Like we get Cordelia comes in. We get Spike. Drusilla already made her appearance last
Cordelia.
issue.
Man, that takes me back.
And it's
crushes.
interesting, by the way, how they're taking her on. Like when she shows up, it's actually way different than I assumed. Because from people who've watched the show, Cordelia is not the nicest person, and she starts out anyway. And here it's like a totally different take, but it's interesting. So that's also out. So you should definitely check that out. Next up, this is a perfect primer for Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel comes out next weekend. So there is a new one-shot, which is Captain Marvel, Braver and Mightier. It's not really, it's one of those things where you don't have to pick it up for story reasons or to understand anything. It's really about if you want to get an idea of like who Carol Danvers is, her personality, why people have kind of flocked to her over time. This is the issue. This is a great issue to read. Sums it up, why she's so lovable and awesome. There's no Goose, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. After that is Amazing Spider-Man number 16, which is the Hunted Prelude. So the comics are bringing Kraven back into a big role.
Oof.
And this is the
Kraven the Hunted.
This explains essentially like what he's been up to since he returned. His whole family brought him back from the dead, and then he killed them all for it, which was really kind of crappy.
Yeah, that's
if someone brought me back from the dead, I wouldn't like immediately
you
kill.
can't hold grudges. It's like a
Kill
whole
all
new
his kids.
life.
And then evidently he had a bunch of he cloned a bunch of kids, a bunch of sons of himself, and then set them all out to do trophies. And then his son, one of those sons, killed all the other sons. It's a very screwed up family dynamic in this issue, but it's interesting. So this new one's going to be like one of the big Spider-Man events of 2019. So if you want to catch that, this issue really just brings all of you up to speed.
Good
Like, you don't have to read
setting
anything
him
else.
up for a return, Kraven. To
I
the
mean,
movie side.
He's still one of the most popular. He's still one of the most popular villains.
Is that movie still in development over at Sony?
Oh, I don't even know.
everything's
Sony's
in development. Of Sony.
Yeah, Sony's as bad as DC now. They just announced stuff.
Well, they also have an Oscar now.
Wow. You're gonna
Thank you, Spider.
and then we've got a couple of picks from Charlie.
I did make some picks.
Yes,
about
you did.
Comics this week. The first one is Avengers: No Road Home. I think this was issue 3 this week, and it's a weekly thing. It's like a mini series that's an alternate team for the Avengers. It's you got people like Hercules is part of this, and you've got Rocket Raccoon and Hawkeye and Wanda, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. And a couple other lesser known Avengers, Hulk's in there. It's a really, really cool team. It's very different than the normal Avengers series that's ongoing right now. And they're taking this whole fight, like it's the whole thing through realities and up to Mount Olympus where all the gods were slaughtered. And it's a really interesting story. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, but like you have people like Al Ewing and Jim Zub and Mark Wade attached to it and working on it. And so it actually works out really well. I had to review the first issue, and I wasn't very excited about it. So, it's another Avengers spinoff thing. But it was really good because it's so different from the other.
Are those the best, though, when you get proven wrong?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I have those.
100%. And the other one that I've been reading lately that I've really been enjoying is Fantastic Four, and issue number 7 comes out, or just came out this week. And Fantastic Four, this reboot that Dan Slott's done, is one of the like purest comics out there today. Like it feels so much like those comics you grew up on that you love. Like it's fun, it's got heart, it's really colorful, it's got a story that's not hard to follow, but like it has, complicated layers to it. It really grasps that old school comic feel, and it's a lot of fun to read. And Slott gets Ben Grimm so right.
Slott is just,
it's hard to get Ben Grimm right, I think, without him being like super annoying. And seeing Ben Grimm like actually be someone I care about on a issue to issue basis, I really, really appreciate what's happening in Fantastic Four.
Well, and one of the ones that I actually reviewed this week, and has been kind of divisive, is Heroes in Crisis, which new issue came out today. I actually enjoyed this issue. I feel like I'm one of the minority that this series is kind of getting dumped on. It's kind of the punching bag, and but I like this issue. But it's one of those weird things. I would actually want to hear from listeners what they think of this series.
Well, you got to sell this. I mean, it's who does this series?
So Tom King writes this series, and Clayman does some gorgeous art in the series. So it's not that it's not a pretty book. And the premise is interesting. So this deals with Sanctuary, a place that the Justice League set up so that people could essentially deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. Like essentially being a hero is hard. Their jobs, they witness a lot of death. They deal with a lot of crazy things. And so they wanted a place that they could go privately to deal with those issues and have some sort of therapy and work through things. So it was supposed to be secluded. Unfortunately, since then, there was essentially a massacre that happened there where a lot of heroes died, including Wally West. And they also now have, since the presence of the place and everything about it has come out in like a giant expose. So like the world knows about this place. They know all these heroes were looking for treatment there. The video confessionals that they were talking into and recording have all come out. They've essentially leaked online. So there's like a lot of fallout. Plus there's a murder mystery. No one knows who killed these people and who killed all these heroes. So it's a lot of it's a really interesting premise.
So is this like an Elseworlds thing? Is it?
No, it's in continuity.
Oh wow!
And it's a maxi series. But the problem that a lot of people seem to have is that while it's a compelling topic, it doesn't necessarily nail some of the nuances. That's a heavy topic. That's a very delicate topic in a lot of ways. So
mental health, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
not light reading.
Yeah, exactly. And so now, yes, you're applying it to superheroes. And I think he's done a really good job in some respects, but it's very divisive. People seem to either love it or hate it. This issue was one of the better issues. I started the series a little late. And then when I read those first few, it wasn't getting to the point. And the murder mystery is the least interesting part about it, because essentially it was either Booster Gold or Harley Quinn killed all these heroes. And neither person do you really want to see that happen to. So you're kind of, there's no one to root against or for, and they haven't done a really good job of planting those mysteries. So I would be interested to hear what our listeners think about that, because it's torn The Office in two. There's a lot of people that either love it or hate it. You don't really sit in between. So I'd be curious.
That's a lot of Tom King though. Like when we talk in our comics chat, there's a lot of people who love Tom King or really don't like Tom King. And
I tend to be on the love side, but he does have his duds for me. But I I love his dialogue. His dialogue's really interesting. It's charming. The banter back and forth. It's great. So
All right, so that's it for comics this week.
comics.
All right, looks like we got a little bit of time. Charlie, in like about a minute or so, Charlie Ridgely is our Gotham expert. We try to tout everybody's expertise when they come on. Among other things that you do, you are our sole Gotham expert because you've been the sole man
No one else watches it.
brave enough to dive into that hole. Gotham's coming to an end. It seems to be a pretty exciting end.
Yeah.
You got about a minute on the clock.
All right.
Can you tell people what's going on with Gotham and why they should tune in for these last episodes?
Oh, that's such a loaded question, but it's cooler than it's ever been before because they're building towards Batman's introduction, and we know we're going to see Batman in the very final episode. We got Bane that's being introduced. He has a really, really cool backstory with Shane West, and it's a full throttle show that it wasn't. The first two seasons were kind of slow, and this season's really picked up because they're ending, and the last 2 years, everything's just been kind of breakneck speed throughout it, and there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, and it gets weirder and weirder, which works because Gotham kind of figured out in the last couple of years we're not normal, and the more we try to be like a normal comic story, the more we're not going to work. And so they just took a nosedive into the wacky, and it's awesome. And we're building towards the end, and the big thing people care about is obviously, besides Batman, is the Joker and the creation of the Joker. And we had Jerome that turned into Jeremiah, and now last week Jeremiah basically got put in a coma, and there's no clue what's going to happen. But they've teased all season long that Cameron Monaghan, who plays the character, is going to have one more evolution, and we don't know what that is. But there were a couple teases this week, one from GameSpot and one here from us. I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. John Stevens, the showrunner, talked to GameSpot and said that the new version of Jeremiah, when he eventually comes back, that might be in the final episode. It might be before that. We don't know yet. But we saw those leaked photos online that may or may not be actually him. But he called him actually a nightmare. They're gonna hone in on the horror and terror aspects of the Joker that they haven't before. Nice. The really scary parts of the Joker. And I talked this week ahead of the episode to Francesca Root Dotson, who plays Echo, basically Harley Quinn on the show. And she had a really cool reaction that just said, when she asked about her reaction to seeing that last one, and she said, "This thing passed me behind in the makeup chair and said, 'Hey, what's up?' And I was like, 'What the F is that?' I didn't even know who it was. It really scared the out of me. She was terrified. She had no idea that her friend Cameron was behind her, and it's a completely different character we're going to see as the Joker.
I don't know if that's that impressive. I do that to Matt in the office every day.
That's very true.
Yeah, well, but it sounds good. All right,
it's going to be weird.
That's your stump for Gotham. That was longer than a minute, but we let it go.
I also catch Kofi staring at me from the other side of the office.
Oh, I'm always watching you. Just always watching to see if you can feel me,
Wow.
But that's what we'll end it. This is Comic Book Nation. This has been episode 10. We are double digits. As always, you can come to the site. We will put up new episodes there, and from there you can get the gateway to subscribe to our RSS feed, or you can go on Spotify, Stitcher, or iTunes and subscribe there. If you want to continue any of these discussions with us, we will always be checking the hashtag Comic Book Nation, and you can come at us individually or just say hi to us individually at our respective Twitter accounts. You can reach me at Kofi Outlaw. That's Kofi Outlaw.
You can hit me up at Matt Mueller CB.
And I'm at Charlie Ridgely. Keep it simple.
All right. We have new episodes every Wednesday and Friday. And as promised, we've been going through some of our reviews. And we've been saying to people, just leave us a review if you guys are enjoying the show. And we are going to pick some of the best reviews. We're going to read them here on air. And we will send that person a piece of comic book swag in the form of a t-shirt. So this week we have another one just to keep you guys motivated from The Rig, or Therig, I think it is. But this one I thought would be appropriate for today. It's called Great Way to Keep Up on All Things Comics! !
Hey!
And here's what Therig says. Hosts are super enthusiastic and the topics are varied and informative. A great way to keep up on the comics world and their related movies, TV, and video games. With some wrestling thrown in! ! I highly recommend. Matt, did you write this one?
I was about to ask that. Was Matt's burner account.
That gets it too sweet. Yes, I did.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? No. All right, because you're not getting any t-shirts. You should.
Well, why?
Front because
you already have 8.
I work here and I can't get a t-shirt.
No, exactly. All right, but thank you, Therig. That is a very nice and kind review. We invite you guys to go on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, leave some reviews, and let people know. Also share if you guys are liking the show. Share it with some friends. And that'll about do it for us now that we've stumped for the show. Tune in on our next episode. We'll get back with you. This is Kofi Outlaw signing off. Comic Book Nation.
Deuces.